you need to join us on Sunday and Monday to get some hope and some inspiration.
Right.
That is what we are serving up fresh for everybody. Luke chapter 4. We're going to be saying Luke for a long time because we are in the book of Luke for the next, 16 weeks or so, it seems. Word Made Fresh, Reverend Jim, Reverend Adriene, welcome. Good to have you. Talking about upcoming Sundays at Riverside, but anyone who uses the narrative lectionary is welcome to eavesdrop. We are talking for this Sunday about a couple of things. Number one, I'm not preaching. You're not preaching. Who's preaching?
Reverend Mark A. Thompson.
Okay, so we have a guest preacher, and we'll need to know a bit about him. And he's preaching on the lectionary, the narrative lectionary. Luke 4, we'll get to that. But he's our guest this Sunday because this Sunday is the Sunday closest to Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the following January 20th. So MLK Sunday at Riverside is often a thing. So Adriene, give us a little bit of who is this preacher we're having and a bit more about MLK at Riverside, if that comes up.
Yes, indeed. So I have been in relationship with Reverend Mark probably since I got to Riverside. He has come in and been a panelist in a film that we were a part of that had to do with the ongoing massacre in Gaza. Um, he was with me when I joined Linda Sarsour at the UN, calling on the U.S. to stop the carnage in Gaza. Most of his public ministry, he has worked in the areas of political, civil, and human rights. He's an activist and an organizer, and he's also, I imagine, a good preacher. He was inducted into the Morehouse College Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers in 2023. So I think we're going to have a fantastic sermon. I think beyond that, though, for me, he's a really good person, a decent human being. So, he will reach out to me often to check on me, to check on Riverside. So beyond, being this very public figure, he's also a good man.
Which is always a good, precursor to any invitation. It's best to be a good person and then speak from that goodness or exist from that goodness rather than, we'll see where this comes from. So I echo all of that. I think we are in for a delight to welcome him both in worship into the pulpit and for us to get to experience a Sunday with him. Just to show all the cards quickly, this coming Sunday, MLK Sunday, we will have a sermon talk back with him. So we're enticing you to listen to the sermon. And if you're like, I want to talk with this guy, you're going to get to. In the room, online, you can join us for that sermon talk back after worship on MLK Sunday, January 19th. But MLK Sunday, wait, I never learned that in my liturgical lectionary calendar in seminary. It went from Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, Lent. How did we get MLK in the middle of that?
Well, I think for a lot of churches, especially ones that are thinking about justice and how God's love looks like the beloved community, which King talked about, it's a natural fit. I think if you're a church that cares about what's happening to the neighbor, King was both a Baptist minister, but also, like Reverend Mark, a civil, political, human rights figure. He was, a part of the Poor People's Campaign. So he cared about wages, he cared about racial oppression, he cared about human rights. So all of those things, I think, for King were a part of his understanding of, the call to love neighbor as ourselves. So it all gets tied in. And then, of course, Riverside Church has in its history a welcome of Dr. King 6 times. I think preached 5 times and delivered the Beyond Vietnam speech once. So there were 6 times that King was in the space. And what's going to be very special this Sunday that I'm excited about, we're going to play his voice in the space. There's just something about, one, the beauty of the sanctuary that we are blessed to serve in, but to hear the voice of Dr. King himself in the space where people actually heard his voice, I think is going to be really powerful for people on King Sunday as well.
Absolutely. His words and message and life and legacy are something that I think all people of faith, not even just Christian faith, as it's clear in his work, can continue to follow and bring to life. But at Riverside, we have a unique kind of mantle to carry because so many of his words, and yet some of his most impactful words with that Beyond Vietnam speech, which was given 1 year exactly before his assassination. Could there be a correlation? Some say yes. That was
Yeah.
his turn from civil rights to America's war in Vietnam, and some people
Mhm.
wanted him to stay in his lane and just talk about one thing. And
Right.
nope, it's all intersectional, everybody.
Mhm.
And so a year later, he was assassinated. Makes me wonder, how old would he be today? Do you know?
Oh my goodness. I don't.
I'm Googling it quick.
I mean, he was also close to the age that Jesus was when he was killed. So there are people who
Yeah.
make that. I mean, he was in his early 30s
He would be 95 if he
this
had
year.
still been living today. So
Right,
that's,
right. And I think the clip that we're leaning towards playing is something from Beyond Vietnam. I think what we've realized over these many years since his assassination is that those words are sadly timeless. Um, America's militarism, imperialism, capitalism continues to give gifts that nobody wants.
oh yeah, the
Um,
three evils of racism, poverty, and militarism. They are definitely still evils we are contending with today.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it'll be a really exciting Sunday. It'll be wonderful to be in conversation with Reverend Thompson. And then, of course, the next day we will be in conversation with faith leaders from six different traditions, talking about reclaiming the dream. I imagine there will be a lot of people trying to claim Dr. King on Monday, January 20th. So we are
Ooh.
attempting to reclaim that and asking our Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, and Jewish friends to come and talk to us from their various faith traditions about what Dr. King and his legacy means to them from their perspective. There'll be lunch, and then there'll be a joyous gospel choir concert following the conversation because I think we're all going to need a little nourishment on Monday, especially those of us who are not planning to be involved with the thing happening in Washington, D.C.
So just in case you're trying to scurry down schedules and when to show up where or log into what, Sunday morning, Riverside. I usually say it's at the end, but I'm doing it in the middle now today. Sunday morning, Riverside. Worship starts at 11. The special music, carillon, organ preludes begin around 10:30. So the live stream starts then. You can join us in the room, online, trcnyc.org, or just look for the really tall steeple on Riverside Drive at 120th and Riverside in West Harlem. That's on Sunday. And then Monday, the 20th, is when we're having this Reclaiming the Dream event. That starts at 10:30 a.m. in South Hall and online. So the link will be on the church website to view it online or on our YouTube channel, or just show up in the building. There'll be some embodying practices to start, and then this incredible interfaith panel. We're going to have lunch available for purchase after that, so you can stick around or go to your favorite spot in the Upper West Side. I have some favorites I like to go to once in a while. But then you got to come back in the building or come back from your kitchen if you're at home, because in the afternoon at 2 o'clock is Broadway International Broadway Inspirational
Inspirational.
Voices. There we go. And that is going to be, I was already watching some of the clips from last year when they were with us, and it
Mhm.
made me excited to have them back.
Yes.
So that is a soundtrack intentionally crafted and offered on a day when there are other words and sounds coming from certain parts of our country
Yeah.
at that exact same time.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good
It's
day.
going to be a good day. It's going to be a good weekend. And I think it's actually going to be a good year. I know that a lot of people are nervous, and I'm not discounting the caution that some of us have and many of us need to have. But I also am reminded, as a person of faith, that there is a power greater than these powers that we are concerned about. And there are neighbors, there is beloved community, there are people who are out there working and strategizing about how to keep immigrant neighbors safe, how to keep mixed status family members safe, students and colleagues of ours who are in the country who may be targeted. So there is the work continues, and I think it's going to be a good year.
I think so. And I think the text for this Sunday is a very fitting one to step into this
Mhm,
upcoming
mhm,
reality. And it's a very fitting one for MLK Sunday. It's Luke 4. So this is
mhm.
Jesus going to the synagogue. We missed the temptations in the wilderness. That happened. So you can read the prologue there. But the
Right.
lectionary brings us to Jesus stepping into the synagogue, and this is when he picks up that Isaiah scroll, and it says, "The
Mhm.
Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's anointed me to bring good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives, sight to the blind, free those who are oppressed, and proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Now, you preached on this same text back in Advent. Do you
That's
remember
right.
that?
I do. I do. It was straight out of Isaiah.
Yeah.
And then we're hearing the Isaiah text that I preached in the Gospel of Luke as Jesus is reading it to his neighbors, and they are outraged, right? We are outrage is a very common emotion in our
Ooh.
world right now. So I don't know what direction our guest preacher will go, but I'm thinking about and sitting with how quickly we as community, we as people of faith, go from 0 to 100. How quick we are to call one another evil, to slander and personalize our attacks. Um, Outrage is killing people. I think spiritual and verbal death. Um, and our world, our church, maybe we ourselves are just no stranger to outrage. And I mean, I think it's at the root of what got Dr. King killed. And we're really good at it now, creating even fake deep fakes about people, um, but also not allowing folks to make a mistake or to say something that we may not agree with, but it doesn't have to lead to their death, soul death, or actual death.
Outrage, indeed. That is an emotion. I mean, we see it embodied in lots of ways. We It just brings me back to a couple days ago, this year's January 6th. There was a different. We didn't see the same outrage manifested this time as we did 4 years ago. But it doesn't mean that those emotions aren't there. And I think that just says there's that emotion's present on all sides. But especially, I think, when someone has the audacity to bring good news to the poor and to proclaim release for the captives and free those who are oppressed. Well, the people who were benefiting on that oppression and benefiting from those industrial prison complexes and benefiting from this widening wealth gap due to late stage capitalism, talking to you again, Jeff Bezos, those people might get outraged. They might have a few feelings hurt.
Yeah, or Elon Musk, who wants to be
Ooh.
so efficient and cut all of this money, but subsidize. People got subsidies. We call it different things when wealthy people get government benefits or farmers get government benefits, but you let women, or you let poor people, you let people of color, let indigenous people, let anybody get a little something that is not the 1%. And oh my Lord Jesus, you got like a lollipop. That's not
We
right.
can't just go giving out lollipops to everybody. What are we doing? But
Exactly.
the rich people can keep getting richer based off these government contracts and subsidies.
Right.
That's no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And tax breaks. And here we go again. They're talking about more tax breaks, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
which is being paid for on the backs of poor people. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I will say that I have heard there is a plan for I think March on MLK Weekend in DC, of course, ahead of the inauguration. And of course, the January 6th rebels are planning to come and meet that with force.
Mm.
So I am constantly and deeply concerned about our country, and about
Yeah.
people claiming this faith of Jesus, but going to events with the intent to harm, with weapons. We have really taken a wrong turn. We,
Yeah.
the Christian family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's this weekend. And if this moment in the conversation makes you go, huh, that means you need to join us on Sunday and Monday to get some hope and some inspiration.
Right.
That is what we are serving up fresh for everybody. And it will nourish you not only those days, but the weeks, the months, the 4 years and more still to
Right.
come.
Right.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
That'll be
All
good.
right. You know the drill. Find us on Sunday. I already said when and where and how, but just head to our website, trcnyc.org. We have Bible study in the morning at 9:30 on Zoom and in the room. You can join us to talk more about this passage there. Stick around for worship, sermon talk back after. a whole lot of fantastic things happening on Monday, January 20th at Riverside. I want to clarify where the whole lot of good things are happening and other places. There are lots of good local areas doing events and activities and
Yes,
services and things. So
yes,
find where that hope and energy
that's
is
right.
and give that your time and attention.
That's right.
That's what's worth doing every day, I think, but especially this MLK Day. So we'll see you on Sunday, everybody. Talk to you next time.